Hello, and welcome to the Astoria podcast, where we are getting to know our neighbors and those who help our community thrive. I'm your host, Bree Matan. In this episode, I talk with Crystal, owner of Crystal's Confections. Like many folks during the pandemic, she found herself unemployed, and it forced her to restructure her life's purpose. We talk about accepting criticism while staying true to yourself, and how people-pleasing does not serve you both in life and business. She loves what she does, and that joy is felt in every custom design that she creates. Her story is so uplifting, and so much about her life resonates with me. I hope you enjoy getting to know her as much as I did. I'm very excited to be talking to you today.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. I've already said that like many times. Okay, tell me about you. Tell me about Crystal's Confections. What do you offer?
So I basically bake a wide variety of baked goods and custom goods. So for example, I do custom cakes, custom cupcakes, whether it's a birthday, anniversary, a wedding, baby shower, you name it, I can do it. So apart from custom cakes, I always want people to know that I do more than just custom orders. Because when people hear custom orders, they think, well, it has to be something specific. It has to be something expensive. It has to be something for a certain occasion. And that's not, like, I do that, but I also do stuff for every other day. I do tres leches, I do cinnamon rolls, I do brownies, little tiny cakes, any cookies, like anything that you would want on a regular day, I do, basically. And that's what also I do at 31st Ave Open Streets. I sell the stuff that you don't have to order custom.
Oh,
basically,
nice. Okay.
Like, so it's kind of like, and those things are available all the time. And I don't like to use the word custom a lot because people think with custom that they have to reach out for a reason. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There's no reason to want a sweet. Like, you can literally eat a sweet anytime you want. And like, that's what I want people to know about Crystal's Confections, is that there's no occasion to have a sweet. I will give you what you want, like.
Yeah, no, I love that. So when you came over here, you brought the most delicious cupcakes with you. My husband's very excited about it. You've been on the books to interview for a while.
Thank you.
Just before this interview started, I had the most delicious vanilla cupcake.
Thank you.
Tell me how your business got started.
So I've always baked. Ever since I was like 10 years old, I always had this like urge to like create a baked good, no matter what it was. I used to be obsessed with watching Cake Boss. I don't know if you ever it's from the bakery, Carlos Bakery, that famous one in New Jersey. Uh-huh. They had a show on TLC called Cake Boss, and literally like, oh my God, like I would binge watch that show so much every Saturday and Sunday. It was like clockwork. They had a marathon on TLC, like every Saturday and Sunday, all day long, just repeating episodes. And I would literally stay in my room and watch them all. I would watch them all. And I have that brain where like I need to see first to do it. Like I have to look first. Like I'm a visual learner, so I need to look at it first before I can do it. That's pretty much what I did. Growing up, I didn't have access to ingredients. I didn't have access to the money to buy ingredients because, of course, my parents bought everything for me. I was 10 years old. Like, where am I going to get money to go buy ingredients? So they would, there was a bit of a pushback with that. Like, they didn't really, it's expensive, to make a cake. From a supermarket alone, like I would tell you, it's like $100 if you're going to a supermarket to buy all the products. Right. So of course to them, they're just like, chill, this is, big project. So I took the time to just watch at that point. From 10 to until I was in high school, it was mostly watching, and then I would dabble here and there. For my birthday, I would bring cupcakes to school. I would bring brownies to school. I always, for my birthday, even holidays, I felt it as a way of I gotta bake something. I gotta celebrate. I have to give sweets away. I just have this urge to just constantly give sweets away. And so in high school, I got more into the actual baking part. Decorating was definitely not there. It was not there. But the baking was definitely there. It tasted great. It looked good. And then I got into college, and of course, I dormed in college, so I took a little bit of a break because we didn't have a kitchen in the dorms. But then I moved into the apartments on campus where we had a full-on kitchen. So I picked it up again during that time. And it was definitely still, the decor was not there, but I was practicing on different flavors. I was practicing on different combinations. That's where I was at that time. And then again, took a little bit of a break, graduated, And then I was living with my parents at the time. And I was working at my dad's restaurant. He owned a restaurant called Theater Row Diner. It closed because of COVID, unfortunately. But
where is that?
it was in Times Square.
Oh, no way!
Yeah,
that's so cool.
I know. Yeah,
Okay.
it was a oh my god, it was a great
I'm sorry
diner.
to hear that it closed.
I know.
Yeah.
I really loved it. I worked there for 7 years. I started as a hostess, and then I ended as a manager, which is where I was. Which is when COVID hit. Exactly when COVID hit. But through that time,
we lost so many businesses during that time. Yeah.
Yeah. Through the time I was working, I pretty much took advantage of learning about restaurant business. I was working with my dad all the time. I was watching, I was working the register, I was dealing with customers, I was taking orders, I was on the phones. So that time that I didn't bake all the time, I got to learn the business aspect of it. So it was kind of like a combination of the two. And I would still bring baked goods all the time. Christmas, Easter, Valentine's Day, my birthday.
People knew you had the goods.
Yeah, like the waiters and waitresses like knew, like they're like, you bring cupcakes? Like, are you bringing cupcakes? And like I had like one of my most favorited flavors was my chocolate cupcake with cream cheese frosting. Ooh. It was like a killer like at the restaurant. And so I did that for a while, and then I got pregnant in 2019, right before COVID started. Oh, and God. Then March 13, 2020, I was 7 months pregnant, and that's when the whole lockdown happened. And the restaurant closed. I was pretty much just like, well, my husband's a chef too, so we're both out of work now. Yeah. We're both like stuck at home now. And I'm here, I'm like about to pop, like stressing. So I'm like, okay, well, let's take the time now to bake. Let's get back into it. Let's see what we can do now, because now I have time. I don't have to spend 10 hours at a restaurant now. I'm home now. Let's see what I can do. So I started dabbling in actually stacking cakes now. This is when I got to like the actual stacking of cakes and learning how to scrape the icing and do different piping and stuff like that.
So from this point on, you are completely self-taught.
Yes,
I mean,
self-taught.
obviously you worked at your dad's
but I never touched any food there, so I'm all self-taught. Okay. Yeah, so all videos, all Instagram. Instagram is a huge help now. They have like so many cake decorating videos on Instagram. Yeah. So that's pretty much what I did, and then I found this woman on Facebook called Yolanda, and she's from How to Cake It. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but she makes these crazy, like, incredible looking cakes. And I bought her book, and I started running through the recipes in the book, and that's actually where I get my vanilla cake from. I have not changed it since. It's been a staple. And I started learning about Italian meringue icing. I started learning about Swiss meringue icing. I didn't even know there were so many icings at this point. Yeah. Like, I only thought it was just buttercream. And now here I am boiling sugar and making meringue, and I'm like doing all these things, and I'm just like, wow, like I'm really doing it. I'm really making a cake. I'm not selling at this point, obviously, and I'm not even giving it away at this point. It's just for practice. And then one day my sister-in-law asked me to make a Moana-themed cake for my niece. Okay. So I was like, okay, because, the bakeries were closed, so there was no cakes. Right. So I was like, okay, let me try. And it came out so good. It was even. It was stacked perfectly. I did buttercream flowers for the first time ever. I watched a video on YouTube for 5 minutes, and I just did it. And like,
it's gotta be so empowering.
It was. I looked at it and I was like, did I really just do a rose? Like, I love this. And like, it came out so good. And even when I got the feedback, I was like, this is something that, maybe I should really like keep going. Because I've always had the passion for it. I've always had the talent part with the taste. I've always had, decor always takes practice, but I've always had that part down where like, why can't I do this? My dad's in the business. It runs in the family. I mean, it's kind of like my thing. I really don't know what else I want to do. So right. So then I gave birth to my daughter in June, and I pretty much took a little bit of a break.
You would need it.
Yeah. The next cake I made after that was for my brother's birthday. I think he turned like 20 at the time. I'm not entirely sure. But I made him a Reese's cake, and it was a chocolate cake with peanut butter frosting, with chocolate frosting on the outside. And oh my God, like he literally like he didn't know I was making this cake. And so I brought the cake to my parents' house, and they already had gotten a cake for him from a bakery. And my brother literally was like, I like this one better. Like to mine. And I'm like, okay. Like he was like, it looks really cool. Like that's exactly something that I really wanted. Because I always like to, when I make cakes for somebody, especially if they don't know I'm making it for them, I really like to like find out what little things that they like that I can include on the cake, whether it's their favorite color or a favorite object or like a picture. Like, I try to include the person's personality as well, because that the cake speaks who you are at the same time. Like, like when little kids order cakes, it's like, well, that's you right now. Like my daughter wants a dinosaur theme party and a dinosaur cake. That's you right now. Like you love dinosaurs. That's part of your personality. So yes, I'm going to make sure that you have that on the cake. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so,
that's beautiful.
Yeah. And so I just started going after that. And then I think around this time, it was still mostly practice. I was not on Facebook yet. I was not on Instagram. I was like pretty like fearful of that at that point, to be honest. I was like, I wasn't sure how good enough I was to put myself on Facebook and Instagram.
Okay.
So a whole year goes by and it's my daughter's first birthday. So I made her that cake. I was adamant. I was like, I'm going to make your first birthday cake.
Yeah.
This is like the deal breaker. Like if I can't make your cake, then what am I even doing thinking about making other people's cake? You know what I mean? So so I made her a unicorn
prove it to
cake.
Yourself.
Yeah. So I made her a unicorn cake and it lasted in the heat for 4 hours.
Oh, wow.
And normally that doesn't really happen.
Yeah,
so that was one thing. I was like, okay, well, I got the structure down really well. I got the taste down. It looked really good. It was a legit unicorn looking cake.
Right.
And so that was kind of when I decided, okay, well, I'm not going to make a page yet. Let me just comment on, because I started following Momily, the group Momily on Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
And
that's where I started seeing your name pop up everywhere.
Yeah, somebody had asked for cupcakes and I was like, okay, I could do cupcakes. I was like, it's not a cake. It's super simple. Like, know, and there was like a ton of comments already. And I was like, let me just shoot my shot. Like, no big deal. Like if they don't see it, they don't see it. If I get messages, I get messages. So I put in that I would make the cupcakes for free as a trying to get more clients, as I'm trying to like boost my business, trying to get known, trying to like, have people just even want to try myself, because I know there's like also like a stigma where it's, well, I don't know you, I don't know who you are, so I don't really know if I can trust you to make something for me and give you money for it. You know what I mean? Like, and I hear that a lot. Like I'm on like a ton of baking groups and I hear that a lot from people. Yeah. And so I offered that I would do it for free. And the person who posted never messaged me, but there was somebody else who saw the comment that ended up messaging me. And she wanted 50 cupcakes for her sister's baby shower. Yeah. And so I took the order, and of course I told her no charge, but she insisted on paying. Yeah. And so she told me she would pay me $50 for 50 cupcakes. Yeah. So it's exactly what she got. And it was honestly like the most beautiful cupcake, so simple, but I literally put so much effort. Like I wanted to put so much effort into it. I mean, I always do, but you know what I mean? Like for the first time, I was like, this is someone coming to me for an order. I need to prove myself. I need to this is going to be like the make it or break it now for sure. Cause this is a stranger now. This is somebody that I don't know.
Yes. Right.
So it's no one, somebody that can actually tell me to my face if it's bad or not. So she got the cupcake. She was absolutely floored, like super happy. Yay. And she's actually still my customer till this day. She orders at least like 2-3 times a year from me. Oh, wow. She's the best. But because of her, Crystal's Confections got started, because it was from that order that same day I made an Instagram page. Oh, that's so great. And I started posting all the pictures that I had on my phone from the years of baking. And like I ended up having at least like 30 pictures already posted. And I started sharing it on my personal page, telling everybody. And eventually I just started getting follows. I don't even know how it happens, to be honest. Like people just start following. And I see people start recommending me on Facebook, especially my first client. She made a post about the cupcakes. And ever since then, it was just like, it just started trickling. I started getting more inquiries. And I have so many repeat clients that like, I look back and I'm like, wow, you guys really trusted me. Like when I was like just starting out, like you guys really like the support that I had from being like a no one, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like, and for someone to just like my stuff that I bake, it's because it's more than taste for me. It's an ambiance in a sense. It's the quality, it's the look, it's what you bring when you're making these cupcakes. Your personality goes into these baked goods so much that if you don't have a good personality, in my opinion, you're not going to have good cupcakes. Right.
Well, and it's funny you mention that, because like this is the first time I'm meeting you in person, but I've read up on you online, and I've looked over your Facebook and Instagram and all that good stuff. And even just talking to you and having you filled out the guest questionnaire before coming on the show, and just reading your responses, I was taken back by how much care you put into your craft. And even in the cupcakes you brought me today, it's clear that you really took your time, and they're beautiful and they taste amazing.
Thank you.
And like, I think to have a product like that, it really does require you to love it, to love doing it, to love the process, to be constantly wanting to learn, try new things. And I think that really shines through in your work. So it's no surprise to me that, these people online found you and were like, hey, everybody, there's a hidden gem in Astoria, and you got to try these cupcakes. So something I am curious to know more about. So the pandemic kind of started you on this journey. And also you have a daughter. And I can only imagine, I am exhausted all the time.
Oh my gosh.
And like just making a podcast show, and I make a podcast show and I can just close my computer when I'm done editing at the end of the day. You bake, and I'm sure your kitchen is a disaster area after the fact. Your job's way harder than mine, and I can barely keep up. So how do you do it?
Oh my gosh.
Tell me about starting a business with your daughter and being a mom. I want to hear all the good things.
I'm trying to think how old she was when I actually. So she was a year for sure when I started. She was like 14 months when things started picking up. So that by this time she was starting to walk. She was starting to realize, hey, what are you doing in the kitchen? Like, you know what I mean? Like, let me see. And she's like constantly at my leg, like pulling my clothes, and so I when she was just starting to walk, I would put her in the high chair,
right?
And because she would sit in the high chair. Now she would forget it; she will never. But she would sit and she would watch me, and she'd watch me decorate the cake. She'd watch me bake. I would explain while I'm doing it as well. And as she got older, it became a little more difficult. Like for now, for example, there's a lot of long nights, a lot of all-nighters, especially when I have vending events or when I have like a ton of orders for one weekend. Thursday and Friday night, I'm up till at least 5 a.m. And, I have to wake up at 7 because she wakes up at 7. So I don't get much sleep during those times, but at the same time, I also think, like how lucky I am too, because it's like, it's one day out of the week that I'm not sleeping as much. But the return, it's just so rewarding because I open my fridge and I see all the cakes done in my fridge. And I'm just like, wow, like these cakes, like I literally made all of this. Like this is wild. And so she it's the long nights I would say it's a payment for for being a mom and baking at the same time. I used to be able to do more during the day, but she's so active during the day now that if she's not in the kitchen with me, I can't be in the kitchen. It's like that, I have to be with her like all the time. But I do make it work in the sense where if I'm up early, like we're up at 7. She's up at 7. She's, waking me up in my bed at 7 a.m. And I'll start, if I have stuff to do, I'll start early. So I'll start my day by baking 7 a.m. By 10 a.m., I'll take a break and I'll go to the living room with her. And then around like 1, 2-ish after lunch, I'll try and start again, see what else I can do. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes I'm just like completely like can't do anything for the rest of the day until she's in bed.
Right.
She goes to bed around like 7, 8. And that's when I really do my powerhouse baking. Like I'm like constantly nonstop. I'm like everything's in the oven. I have batters making, frostings being made. I'm still working on time management. That's like one thing that like I really, really like would love to, not perfect, but love to be better in within as time goes on. I'm like still a little like I have a planner, so like everything has to be written down for me. Like every single thing has to be written down, whether it's what I have to do for the day, what orders I have for the week, who is coming to pick up this day, who do I have to go drop off. Like everything is written down in my planner. Like if I brought my planner right now, you would see like all the scribbles that are in it. But it's literally
funny to me. A good friend of mine, like since I became a mother, like I used to work in the film industry, and it's intense. I mean, we're talking 17-hour days, it's exhausting. So, I knew really early on, like I was like, I won't be able to be a mom and work these kind of hours. And now I've shifted my career and to doing podcast work, which is a lot more flexible. So I'm very happy to be doing this now. But I was talking to a filmmaking friend of mine and talking about mothers working in the industry. And I think this goes for all mothers. But she said something to the tune of, all industries should hire mothers because they're the most efficient people on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And everything you just
100%.
described, like
Yeah.
like something that would take an average person like 2 hours to do, a mom could do in 30 minutes, because you just learn what's important and you like isolate it and you work.
And you learn what chunks of time you can kind of like get stuff done into.
Yeah.
Like, we're like, okay, well, I know from this time to this time, she's chill on the couch and she's watching her TV.
Right.
Because there's like times of the day where she like will just like completely like ignore the TV and just be like, well, I need to be next to you, Mom. Like, you know what I mean?
Like I need my cup filled. I need like this is my, I need some cuddles. And then and then like once her cup's filled, then you're like, okay, now I'm ready to go watch Miss Rachel or whatever whatever your child's into.
Exactly.
So yeah, totally.
And like now she's so curious now though that I'm trying to like actually teach her now, because she's at the age where she can hold a piping bag. So I have her like on the chair and she's like, the other day I had a cupcake for her, just plain. It was a jumbo one, so it was like pretty big. And I gave her 3 colors, different piping tips. And there's a video on my Instagram if you like get a chance to look. She's actually like decorating it's not perfect obviously, but she's decorating the cupcake. And I'm just like, wow, like this is so cool. Like we can do this together. Like if I, like once because I've seen videos of like kids who like, they're like 3 and they're like icing full on cakes and they're like decorating. And I'm just like, that would be so cool. Like if she like could like be my little buddy, like my partner.
Well, I'm sure she's been watching you.
She's been watching.
Time.
Oh yeah, she's been watching.
You know, and a lot of times I think little girls especially like, oh, I want to be just like Mom. Let me do it. You know?
It's funny because she'll be like, what are you doing, Mom, in the kitchen? I'm like, I'm baking. And she's like, oh, okay, can I watch? And I'm like, sure. And she'll get on the chair and she'll start watching. And I'll stand and be like, first we do the eggs, then we do the oil, then we do the milk. And she's like, oh, first eggs. Like she'll repeat. And then it's funny, like it kills me when she says this. She's like, I'm working, Mom, I'm working. Because I say the same thing and I tell him, like, I'm working, babe, I'm working. And she says it back. It's so cute because I'm just like, oh. And sometimes I do feel when she says that, like, okay, maybe I am spending a little too much time in the kitchen today. Like
the mom guilt. The mom guilt happens.
The mom guilt happens so much when I'm baking. It's like crazy. But then at the end of the day, I'm just like, I try to think too to make myself feel better. It would be the same if I was working somewhere else and I wasn't here. Sure. You know what I mean? At least I'm so lucky that I get to work and be home at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, whereas like there are some people that don't get that. You know, they have to leave for 8 hours a day and, you know, their kid is, you know, unfortunately at school or like, you know, with a babysitter. And I'm so lucky that I get to do that. And like, she's going to hopefully go to school in September. So the dynamic is definitely going to change when she's in school. So I'm a little nervous on that part because, you know, we spent so much time together and like, you know, I'm teaching her baking now and it's like, you know, it's the dynamic's going to switch and like, it's going to be definitely an adjustment.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, and I mean, and on the subject of mom guilt, I totally know what you're talking about. Like, I totally get it and I totally feel it and experience it. But I also feel like it is really important for young daughters to see their moms doing things other than taking care of them. And obviously, you know, children need to feel taken care of and all that good stuff. But witnessing you work like that is a really positive thing for a young girl's character development and just like what women are capable of. So I'm incredibly impressed with all that you have done thus far. This is one of the reasons I wanted you to come on the show. Because I think, you know, the pandemic was kind of this strange. Obviously, it was tragic. Everything about it was tragic. But for a lot of people, including myself, it was this time to reevaluate the trajectory of your life. And that definitely is kind of what happened for me. Like, I was working in the film industry and everything halted. And so when you're forced to take a break, and also because of all the tragedy surrounding you, it kind of helps you realize, like, what's important? What do I want my life to look like next year or 10 years from now? And so, unfortunately, we lost a lot of businesses during that time, including your dad's. But I think a lot of innovation was born as well. The other thing that I love about your story too, and I'm curious, I mentioned that I wanted to start this show for small businesses, but then after having my daughter, there was a renewed inspiration to get this show going because I wanted to immerse myself in the community that I love so much, and I wanted it to become a place like Astoria is home to 95,000 people.
It's a lot. Wow, I didn't know that. It's a lot.
Yes, and my husband and I moved here from the Midwest.
Oh, wow.
And of course, immediately, New York feels huge, but we've grown to love Astoria. And then I have this little daughter, and I'm like, okay, I want her to feel at home here, and I think that happens naturally as children go to school and they play in the parks and you get to know your neighbors. But like, I think you actively have to get out of your house and get it done.
Yes.
And for me, working in the film industry, like I was in front of a computer for hours upon hours all day long, and I had lived here for like 5 years and like still barely knew anybody. And so that's why I was like, it's time to force myself to get out of the house and meet people.
I feel the same way because like I'm a very isolated person. Like I love to stay inside. I love to I could literally not talk to anybody for weeks and like I'm fine with it. Like literally like that's and that's not in a bad way or anything. It's just I'm
very introverted.
I'm a very introvert. I'm very shy. I'm very anxious. Like I do get anxious a lot, and like I try not to get anxious so much, but I do. Like it's just like with people, especially like large crowds, I get very like jittery. And so, but baking and being a business has literally like helped bring me out of that shell. And like I used to work front of house for 7 years. I interacted with so many different people, but there's like certain settings for me where I'm more comfortable than others. And the restaurant was like my second home, basically.
Sure,
so,
right.
I interacted with tourists, like different people from all around the world would come because it's Times Square, everybody in there, everybody comes. And so that really helped too. But then when the pandemic hit, I kind of crawled back into like this little hole and little shell that I used to be before working in the restaurant. And I obviously we had to stay isolated. We couldn't talk to anybody. We couldn't interact with anyone. So it got very comfortable, being that way.
Yeah.
And then when my business started, I realized like, oh, I have to talk to people again. I have to interact. I can't be this like shy, like monotone, like hiding behind a curtain person that I used to be. So baking and talking to all these people and doing events, and I joined this group called the Astoria Entrepreneurs Group, and like they have really helped me bring me out of my shell. And we work with events and we support each other's business and we try to like promote as much as we can. And that's like a huge thing too, like what you said with community. Astoria is like the most supportive community I have ever, this is the only community I've ever been in, but
sure.
It's the most supportive that I can say that I've seen. And everyone constantly shares my page. They're constantly like giving my info out to other people and like showing my work. And there's like I walk down the street sometimes and like people will be like, "Hey, Crystal," and I'm just like, "Oh, like whoa, like I'm being recognized on the street." Like
that's awesome.
And so like it's so crazy because like I still have those times and days where I really want to just like crawl back into like my little like blanket and like not talk to anybody. And like I do allow myself to have those days because I do think like it's important to like that's my like it's my rejuvenation, my recharge. So, but it's really helped like bring me out of my shell. And like I know so many moms and so many people in this community that I didn't know before I had my daughter that it's insane. The support is just unfathomable.
We're going to take a short break. But when we return, Crystal shares about how sometimes strangers can be more supportive than friends, and how she accepts criticisms while staying true to herself. Stay tuned. And we're back with Crystal, owner of Crystal's Confections. One of the questions I asked you in the emails back and forth is, what is something that has surprised you since starting your business? And you responded about how sometimes strangers can support you even more than your friends and family. And that very much resonated with me. Can you talk about that some more?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, like I know so many people now hearing Astoria that I didn't know before, and they all started out as clients. And I like to keep my clients close. Like I like to keep it on a friendly basis. I'm not like those businesses that like, like, well, once we're done, we're done. Like, you know what I mean? Like I won't like we won't even get to have a friendly convo. I'm like, no, like talk to me about your life. Like tell me about your kid. Like when people order cakes from me, like I say like, well, what is she like? Like what is he like? Like what are they like? What are they into right now? What's their personality like? And I try and like be a part of their life for that moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like that's why I think the support is so big too. It's because I'm your friend too. I'm your confidant. Like I may not I'm just I'm a baker. I'm just a regular person, but I could be your baker that's also a confidant. I could be your friend. I make cakes for your occasions where they're so intimate, like a first birthday or an anniversary or a wedding. Like those are such intimate,
they're like huge milestones
they're
in a
huge
person's life
milestones.
that like
Exactly.
leave a mark. And
exactly. And I always say too that the cake is the first thing that the people see and the most talked about.
Yes.
So if the cake doesn't look good and if it doesn't taste good, you are going to be hearing about that for a long time.
Yeah.
Like
totally.
imagine going to a wedding and the cake wasn't good. That's the first thing people say.
Yeah. They'd be like, oh, it was a great wedding, but that cake was nasty.
Exactly. So that's like so important. And even like when I started my business too, and the first thing I did was share on my personal page. And on my personal page, I have friends from high school, from middle school, from college, like all around. And when I tell you that nobody shared it from my personal page, maybe like a couple people, that's when I realized too, like nobody really like, you could know somebody for so long and like, you really don't know them. But you can know a stranger for 2 minutes and they're your best friend, for that time.
It really resonated with me when you said that, because I used to work in the film industry, but before even moving here, my husband and I actually met working in local news in Southern Illinois. Yeah. And before even that, I was a photographer for many years. And, like you mentioned earlier, when you were in high school, you would be baking and trying new things and sharing with your friends. And that's kind of how I got my start too. I got technically I started doing photography before digital was a thing. So like I still remember film days. I'm very fortunate, actually, I feel, to have lived as old as I am and be on that cusp before the digital age. But I digress. I'm revealing how old I am. But my point is like, when you start out and you do something that you love, sometimes, and you hate to say it, but sometimes friends and family can kind of take advantage of that. Like they see that you're kind of growing in your confidence. They see like, oh yeah, you can take my picture for me and you're going to give me a discount, right? And, at first you're like, sure. And then all of a sudden you kind of fall into this trap of your friends and family expect to not pay.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, and so it took me a very long time to break out of that mindset for my photography business. And I'm so glad I don't do photos anymore. I did one too many weddings and I was like, okay, never again. I do still love to take photos, and my husband and I go on photo taking dates sometimes. And
that's so sweet.
Yeah. I still very much love photography, but I only do it for myself. But yes, I think it was interesting because way, way, way early on in my photography career, I was being interviewed by a potential wedding client. And the interview went amazing. They loved my work. And then they called me up and were like, yeah, we're going to go with someone else. And I was like, what the hell? Like, that was an amazing, they loved my work. Like, I could tell walking out of that interview that they were like super impressed. And so I got up the courage and I wrote to the woman and I was like, I really appreciate the time and all this stuff, but I just, I'm curious why you didn't decide to go with me. And she was very honest with me, and she wrote back and she said, honestly, your prices were too low. And I was like,
whoa.
Yeah, exactly. It completely floored me. She basically was like, we decided to go with this other person because their prices were a little higher and we just felt like they had more experience. And that was so silly to me. But I learned an incredibly hard, valuable lesson in that moment, because I think people can get scared. Like if you give them too much of a deal, then they're like, you must not be good then. And then it's funny, like, I think
so weird.
It's such a bizarre concept. You know, I had taken lots of photography classes and certification, but I'd never taken anything like business related. But I kind of had to learn the hard way that, like, if you don't price things well, people will give it just the respect it deserves. Isn't that like, I don't know, I'm curious if you've ran into that before, or...
It's not with pricing, but I have like been in that situation where like I've asked a client like why they haven't. Like there was this one, my very first wedding inquiry, like the very first wedding inquiry I had, she wanted a wedding cake gluten-free, and I do gluten-free from time to time. I don't really like to do it entirely because of the whole cross-contamination thing. Gluten particles stay in the air for more than 24 hours. And it can, even in the oven, it stays in the oven. So it's, even when you're putting something that's gluten-free in there, it'll kind of like attach itself to it.
Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like a whole science behind it. So I don't really like to do it. I'll do it if it's like, if you're gluten-free by choice, or if it's like a super
other
mild
bakers
allergy.
who can specialize in gluten-free.
Exactly,
you know?
And so,
but if you want something amazingly delicious, no, I'm sorry. No hate to the people who are gluten-free. I'm so grateful I don't require gluten-free because I love gluten. Okay.
Me too. I love gluten.
Immediately, everyone who is gluten intolerant are just going to turn this off and be like, no more. End of the interview.
But no, it's true. Like I do dabble in it from time to time, and like it's good. Like it's not like comes out really good. But so I made her a tasting of cupcakes, and I had the cupcakes wrapped, and then I had frosting in little cups. I gave them like a little knife so they can each like make their own combinations with the flavors that they choose. So when you do a tasting, I give you a choice of 4 cake flavors, 4 frostings, and if you want 4 fillings, because some of the, sometimes the frosting is not the same as the filling. Like you can have like a strawberry filling and then a vanilla buttercream around it. So it's not entirely the same, but anyway. So I give them those choices, and she tries them, and then a few days later she gets back to me and she says that she's deciding to go with somebody else, but she's super excited about, you know, the future of my business and, you know, whatnot. But I was a little taken back because I thought that I had done a really good job, you know, and I wanted to ask because there's no harm in asking if it's going to help you learn, you know what I mean?
Help you learn, exactly.
So I asked, and I was like, may I ask what you didn't like specifically, or like why you chose somebody else? And it wasn't harsh, but it was a little, you know, I was definitely taken back because my strawberry filling, I've gotten always good reviews on, like always, like it tastes amazing. Like I had a whole entire cycling team gobble up my strawberry filling, and she says that my strawberry filling was just not good. Like she literally was just like, it was just not good, and then the chocolate ganache was not good. And in my head, I was like, but you asked for dairy-free chocolate ganache, so I had to make it with water. I mean, it wasn't going to be entirely like, so, because she was also dairy-free, so, you know, but I like to accommodate. I do dairy-free and I do sugar-free. That I do 100%. Like, if you need that, I will do it. That is no problem. And so, I was, like, taken aback by that, but then I let it get to me for a day. I definitely let it get to me for a day. I was definitely sulking, and I was like, what did I do wrong? I was like, I made it the exact same way that I always make it. You know, like it tasted really good. This is the same batch that I gave to that cycling team. So why was it not liked by this one person?
Right.
But then I also like had that thought too, where it's, well, not everybody is going to like your stuff. You know, like you have to get in that mindset where it's like, this is a business, not everybody is gonna like your business.
I love that you would share that with me, because something that has been a little bit of a recurrent theme in the interviews that I've done is that you really have to present your authentic self, and how scary that can be sometimes. And, you know, even in the face of a criticism, especially like, you know, you're really proud of your product and then someone's like, wasn't good. And like, I know, like, I totally get what that feels like. And instantly you just want to be like, well, that person's a bitch, or, you know, like, and you know, who knows, maybe they were. But you know, accepting criticism is incredibly difficult, and asking people, it takes an extreme amount of bravery and humility to go to someone and say, you know, tell me about your experience, and then to like take it and learn from it and move forward from it. But what I also really like is that you have put so much of time and effort and research into making something. You did your best to customize it for this person's particular food needs, even though that's not how you would have made it. But you kind of have to go away with a confidence knowing that you did everything that you could in that instance. And you can stand behind your product and know that it's good. I'm just curious, like your takeaway from that experience. You mentioned that now you don't really do gluten-free. Is that so you've made a choice in your business that this is what I specialize in. This is what I can provide for you. This is the product that will be best for what you.
Because in the beginning, I wanted to, when you're first starting out, you kind of want to do everything. You want to be that person that does everything that everyone will come to you for.
Right.
But it's not.
You can't meet everyone's needs.
Exactly. You can't meet everyone's needs. And there's, like, for example, with the gluten, that's, if you have a gluten allergy, it's extremely dangerous. Like, for these particles to be floating around and landing on your cake. So I adamantly do not take gluten orders if it's an allergy. Like, if you're by choice, no problem. Like, definitely I will do it for you.
But you should know these cupcakes have gluten.
Exactly.
And they're delicious.
And exactly. And I do sugar for there's a lot of, I try to meet a lot of people's needs, and I try to accommodate a lot, because I always think of it on the other side too. When I'm not a baker, how do I feel as, like, a mom or as a person? If someone's coming to me and they're like, well, I only have $100 budget, but I really want to get this cake for my daughter or my son's or whoever's birthday, and this is my budget, I can work with that. There's a lot you can do with $100 for a cake.
Sure.
And, people are scared to say what their budget is sometimes.
Yeah.
And I like to ask that question a lot. I like to, well, what's your budget? I want to also accommodate people because, like I said, everyone deserves to have a sweet for their occasion, for their birthday, whatever the event is. But also, I totally understand that there are some people that it may not be in their budget, but they still want to have that experience. You know what I mean? They want to have something special, and they want to, celebrate their child or their, whatever the event is. And I really try my best to give all options possible. And I have, my menu is so extensive which is why, because I have all these different options, and I'm very good at explaining everything to the client. So, for instance, if they come and tell me, I have $100 budget and I really want a cake with this theme, and what can I do? There's so many options. Buttercream is so versatile. People don't realize how versatile buttercream is. I can do a lot of things with buttercream.
Yeah.
There's ways to put an image on a cake without getting edible images, which is super expensive. It's not edible, but it's doable. It looks really good. It looks the same.
Yeah.
It's more cost effective. It's a thing I like to do is, so in exchange of edible images, because edible images have to be custom ordered, 100%. They're custom ordered. They take 2 weeks to do.
Oh, wow.
There's not really a place in the area that does them. Stop and Shop used to, but they closed down, so they're not available anymore. So what I do instead is I'll tell them, well, another option is, and it costs $3, I go to Staples and I print out the exact same picture and I'll put it on a backing of fondant, and the fondant will go on the cake. So the picture is not touching the cake at all. There's nothing touching the cake, and you just peel off the fondant super easy before you cut the cake.
Yeah.
You still have the image, you still have the theme you want, you still have the look.
And it's much more affordable.
It's much more affordable.
Yeah.
Same taste, same quality.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, it looks good, everyone's happy, and you're not, wasting an entire paycheck on a cake. You know what I mean?
Yeah, nobody should have to do that.
Exactly. And as a mom, as a working mom, I can say, and as a person and someone who has struggled financially before, I definitely understand where people are coming from. And if anyone listening to this, I don't want anyone to feel that they can't come to me or a baker in general and say what budget you have. It's not embarrassing at all. It's nothing to be ashamed of. That's your budget. Let's work it out. Let's work together. This is why I love what I do. It's a process. It's not just me. It's a team effort.
So I am curious, going back to talking about becoming a mom, how has having your daughter impacted you starting your business?
Before she was born, or once she was born and deciding to do it?
Yeah, or either way, whatever, however you want to talk about it. And if there's no connection, that's fine. But I assume there is sort of a driving factor, only because I know what it feels like to become a mom during a scary time, and you kind of have this passion burning in your brain, and then you have this little bundle of joy that is draining the life out of you. You're up all hours of the night. And it's something interesting that I am dealing with. My daughter at the time of this recording is 8 months old. And obviously I'm totally obsessed with her. And I'm so grateful that I get to stay home with her. But there's a certain amount of like, and it's okay if this isn't your experience. But for me, it's an interesting thing. I think coming out of working in the film industry, I feel sometimes like I'm only using half of my brain. You're nodding. You're nodding.
I feel the same way.
Okay, so
100%.
tell me, so like for all the moms listening out there who's like, oh, my career has totally halted, and I'm taking care of this child, and I'm so grateful, but also my brain needs a little something sometimes. So do you have any of that experience? Like, and would you care to share about it?
Well, I would say so. Like when I had her, when I was pregnant with her, I was still working in the restaurant. So I literally had this mindset that, and this was before obviously my business, that, you know, once the 16 weeks went by, you know, that whatever that maternity leave amount is, that I would be in the restaurant.
It's hardly nothing, but yes.
That I would be back in the restaurant. I was like, in September, I'm going to be back working in the restaurant. You know, like we'll get a sitter. We'll have my mom watch her. Like all these fantasies that I had, like, you know, obviously did not work out because the restaurant didn't reopen. So when I got that news, I was like, well, crap, like, what am I going to do now? So that's when I eventually started baking and I started my business. And I really I think the whole drive also about being a mom and having this business is that it not only does it allow me to take care of her financially. So like if I didn't have this, I'd literally have nothing coming in.
Right.
And that's something that makes me so anxious. Like I'm a very anxious person when it comes to finances. Like I need to have everything like set and planned, and, you know, everything has to be in order. So when the whole pandemic hit and there was that uncertainty of like, well, where are we gonna get this money now to pay rent and to get diapers and formula and all that stuff. And so the baking helps with that a lot. And also it allowed me to stay home. Like that was the big thing. It was when she was born, and as like the couple months went by, and I realized like I don't really want anyone else taking care of her. Like I don't really want like a stranger coming into this house or her going to a daycare.
And some people don't have that choice.
And obviously some people don't have that choice, and like that's definitely like, you know,
so hard.
It's so hard, like especially because like in my position, like it was. Like in anyone's position, it's a little baby, you know, like you don't want to give that up. You don't want to like lose that like control that you have, that parenting control that you have too. Right. So I was really like grateful in the sense too that it allowed me to help stay home with her and to like, you know, do what I loved at the same time as also doing what I love, if you get what I mean. Like being a mom and baking at the same time. Right. And, you know, you can include your kids with it. You can make it fun. It's definitely, like I said, a lot of time managing, a lot of spacing things out throughout the day. But what I love the most too is I get to meet so many other moms too, like, because not only am I baking cakes for their kids, but they're meeting my daughter. The kids are interacting. My daughter is befriending, you know what I mean? Like she's making friends too at the same time. So she used to actually come with me on all my drop-offs. When I first started, I would drop off on foot and I would put her in the stroller, and I have a cake or cupcakes in one hand, and I'm pushing the stroller with one hand, and I'm going to drop off, and she's with me the entire time. Like she was a part of that, and she met a lot of my customers that way, and a lot of customers' kids. And it was actually funny, this one time that I dropped off, she walked into a customer's house because she saw their kids and all the toys, and oh my God, it took so long to get her to leave. She just was like, ooh, toys. Just went right in. Luckily, my customer, she's such a sweetheart. She literally she found it hilarious. Oh, that's good. But I was like I was a little mortified. I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like she's like grabbing all the toys. Aww. But oh my gosh, right now she's literally like equivalent to like a little T-Rex, honestly. Like she's just she's running around all the time. She's legit roaring at people. Like so that's why I'm calling her a T-Rex. She's obsessed with dinosaurs. She's been obsessed with dinosaurs for the past 2 years now. Because last year we had a dino party and this year we're having a dino party. And oh my gosh, she's just so like, she's so happy. Like she smiles all the time. She's like always wanting to know like what I'm doing, like so curious about the world. Like, what's this? What's that? What's that? And you know, like she's talking a lot now, so she's saying sentences, so I can understand. We can have conversations now, and like I can hear what she's saying. Like, yeah, it's so cute because like you can actually legit like have a conversation with her and like understand what she's saying. And this age is the best because like she tells me what she wants now too. So it's like no longer a guessing game. It's like, Mom, I'm hungry, or like, Mom, I want water. And it's like, I love like the straightforwardness.
I'm so envious right now. My daughter's only 8 months. I do not want her to grow up too fast. I want to savor every moment.
Oh my gosh.
But man, I'm gonna be so glad when she can just say, I'm hungry. My stomach doesn't feel good. Please, like I would love for her to order me around. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Then I'll know. I don't have to guess.
And it's the best too, because like she'll like when I'm doing cakes, she'll come and be like, "That's a beautiful cake, Mama," and my heart just melts because I'm just like, "Oh, thank you so much, because I know it is, because like I know you will tell me if it's not."
That's right. She'll be like, "Not your best work, Mom.
But
not your best."
It's true though, because actually there was this one time where I tried a different brand of butter to make buttercream. And it was like, it wasn't a brand that you see in the market. It was like one of those like wholesale type brands from a restaurant, but I got my hands on it somehow. And it looks like regular butter, like same exact ingredients that you would see in another butter, but it just tasted and smelled so different. And I made my buttercream and I was like, something is not right. Like something just doesn't taste right. Like, and I'm like smelling it and I'm eating and I'm like, Elizabeth, please come here. And like, I literally give her a spoon and she's like, yuck, Mama, yuck. And I'm like, I knew it. I was like, this is not right. I was like, it's not good, right? It doesn't taste good. And she's like, no. And I'm just like, okay, I dumped the whole thing out. I never use that butter again. Like, never. But like, she's like my helper now in that sense. Like, she's my taste tester. She tells me when it looks good. Like if I'm uncertain about a certain character, I'll ask her and she'll tell me what it is. Oh. So at least I know that I got it. Like,
yeah. Oh, that's so great. I love that.
She's the biggest like supporter with my cakes, to be honest. She's like the littlest, biggest supporter. Oh. She literally is constantly telling me like, oh, it's so pretty. What a beautiful cake. Nice cake, Mom. Like,
oh my gosh, I love that.
She's so excited for me to make her cake for her birthday. She's like dinosaur party June, strawberry cake with cream. And I'm just like, you got it. Like, I'll make you a strawberry
flavors. She's got her favorite. She's character picked out. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I bet she literally goes to sleep at night dreaming of that.
She literally tells me when she's drinking the bottle, dinosaur party June. Like,
she's literally
having issues in my arms, and she'll take the bottle out. She'll be like, dinosaur party June, Mom.
Oh, she's looking forward to it so much.
She's so excited. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I am so excited that she is going to have her dreams come true.
Yeah. And honestly, I'm so glad that I get to bake for her. Like, that's one of the joys too, as like being a mom and a baker at the same time, is that I get to bake for any occasion for her, and like I get to do like anything and everything that I want. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I have so much joy with baking cakes in general for other people too, that when I bake a cake for my daughter, it's like the most like immense amount of joy. Like, you know, it's like,
I love that. I love that.
Because I love seeing the kids' faces when they see their cakes. Like, that's why I also love when the kids come along to pick up the cake, or if I drop off and the kids are there. Yeah. Their expressions and their reaction to the cake is just exactly why I do what I do. Like, honestly, like, their reactions are exactly why I bake and why I stay up till 5 a.m. making sure that they have the perfect cake. Like,
it's for them. It's for them.
Yeah.
You're literally like baking joy for these most incredibly life-changing moments that are like, that will leave a mark on them. That's like, that and was my best birthday.
COVID, and I know since COVID too, that parties haven't been so popular anymore. I know there's like, you know, nobody really does, you know, gender reveals anymore, or like certain little parties, like anniversary parties. Like, I've seen now, like, weddings have gotten so small. I've gotten orders for wedding cakes that are for like 20 people.
Yeah.
It's like they're so tiny now. And like,
Well, my husband and I got married in COVID, and we didn't know any bakers at the time, but we went over to Titan Bakery.
oh, nice.
And we got one of their truffa cakes.
Ooh.
And so now it's kind of, I gotta say, it's kind of nice because now anytime we want to celebrate, we just like, let's get a truffa.
It's like a tradition now.
Yeah, but that's how cakes, that's how what they do for you. Like it is like
Yes.
like you said, you don't need to have a special occasion to have a sweet treat.
Exactly. No, you literally don't.
Well, but we make our occasions special by having a sweet treat.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, like
I love this. This should be your commercial.
Like, I know, right? No, like cakes are like they're like, even if it's just cupcake, like a cupcake tower, like a pull apart cupcake cake. Like I try and like do like I said, like when I'm accommodating, like when people want sheet cakes, like sheet cakes are, so there's like this stigma with sheet cakes that at the grocery store, they're like $30-$40, right? But when you personally make them, they cost like $140. So it's like a huge price difference, and not everybody knows that,
I wouldn't know
they
that.
think that, it's going to cost the same as the grocery store. So what I have like different like versions of a sheet cake that I offer for people who want a sheet cake but not necessarily can afford a custom made sheet cake. I'll do like a pull apart sheet cake. So it's like literally pull apart. They're cupcakes arranged in like a square, like a rectangle.
I've seen that.
And they're all iced, and it's like looks like a legit sheet cake, but you just pull the cupcakes.
You pull apart,
and that's
which also
They're
makes
cupcakes.
Serving easy. Yeah. So smart.
Or I'll do like a 1-layer sheet cake, which is like not as big as like the 2 layers that I do. So like I love to like, I want everybody to have a dessert. So I always like to accommodate. And I also want everyone to try my stuff. Like that's like another thing too. Like
it's a huge high, I bet.
Yeah, it is. Honestly, it is. Like when people come to me and they say, I've heard of you, or like I was recommended by someone. And especially like I've gotten so many inquiries for my daughter's birthday weekend that I like had to turn down so many. And honestly, like it makes me feel so bad. Like I hate turning down orders. It's like I'm a people pleaser. And like,
I'm a people pleaser too. I'm trying to recover from being a people pleaser. It does not serve you. Yeah.
It's stressful.
It is so stressful. But I will say the more I am working on not being a people pleaser, I will say my relationships are much more authentic, and I'm way less stressed out.
No,
but it is not easy to change that about yourself.
No, I've done that too.
So kudos to you.
I've honestly like I've tried to like fix that too, because like this year when the new year came, I like had this like I had a set of goals, and I was like, I want to, number 1, work on time management, but number 2, try not to say yes to everybody.
Yes.
Because like there are times where like
I just said yes.
there are times where like I'm like I'm saying yes to all these orders, and then when I realize how many I've said yes to in one weekend, I'm like, oh crap, like I've spread myself a little too thin. It's still doable, maybe a longer night than usual, but then I like have to reflect, and I'm like, okay, like this is why you can only take a certain amount for the week. Like you're gonna burn out. Like there are weeks where I've burnt out before, and like I was like just couldn't do anything for the next 3 days after that, because like I have ADHD, so like when I go into like super hyper focus and then I lose that focus, it's like a 3 days of like just I'm feeling so drained, and so it's a constant upkeep too of like trying to keep myself
take care of yourself.
Yeah.
You have to take care of yourself so that you can take care of other people.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then with being a mom at the same time too, so it's like just all this extra stuff. So that's why time management for me is like definite like a huge goal for the end of the year. Like, and I've been doing really well with it though. Like I have to say, like I've been super proud of myself with that, because I've like saying no is like a thing that like I hate to do. And saying no because it's obviously I'm not able to do this. My daughter's birthday weekend, there's literally like but there have been times where like I've thought about it and I'm like, well, maybe I could squeeze it, and then I'm like, no, stop. Like
this has to be
like,
your week for your daughter.
Yes.
And like that's where, I mean, we talked about mom guilt earlier, like, and I think that's part of it. Like as you work on people-pleasing tendencies, and I'm saying this because I'm the same way, but like as you work on it, it is amazing just how much actual quality your relationships go up. Like less is truly more, and 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 then when you do take the time for people, like they're like, they feel the connection, and because you're even more present, it's a weird phenomenon, right?
It's so crazy.
It's so ironic how much our stories align, and this is one of the reasons I wanted you on here, because I knew I'd be able to talk to you for hours. But I'm not going to talk. I'm not going to take up your whole afternoon.
I could talk for hours too.
I'm not going to do it. I really appreciate you coming here. It has been an absolute joy to sit here and talk to you. I knew you were going to be an amazing person to get to know.
Oh, thank you.
Tell me, if people want to find you online, tell me where would they go to do that?
So I'm on Facebook and Instagram. On Facebook, it's Crystal's Confections Astoria. And then for my Instagram, it's Crystals_Confections_.
Or if you're active on the Momily group.
Yes,
you've been mentioned there
yes.
so many times.
Yes, I'm very active on Momily, so you can definitely search my name in the bar and you'll find me. Or even just search cake in the bar and I'll probably come up, to be honest.
Oh yeah, probably. That's amazing. Yeah, you're definitely in high demand, and your name just pops up everywhere. I absolutely love it, and I'm so excited for you, and I'm excited to see your business continue to grow. And I think your daughter is very lucky to watch her mom build something as amazing as Crystal's Confections.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, that's our show. I thoroughly loved this interview with Crystal. I hired her to make me a cake to celebrate the launch of the podcast. It was so fun coming up with the design together, and after a year of developing the Astoria podcast, it really made the show's launch extra special. You can see it and other behind-the-scenes content on AstoriaPodcast.com. As always, thank you for listening. I hope this show inspires you to get out and meet your Astoria neighbors. The Astoria podcast is recorded and edited by me, Bree Matan. To show your support, please rate and subscribe and share this show with as many people as you can. If you're interested in being on the show, please visit AstoriaPodcast.com to learn more.